Night practice, very excited about tonight. I think the enthusiasm of our fans has been, we've had some hot days. We've had some, days where I've walked out here, a long time before practice and the bleachers are full. Fans have been incredible before, after, during practice. So excited to fill the stadium up tonight and have a night practice. It's always a different kind of energy in the house. It is, just another padded training camp of practice. We don't really classify it as a scrimmage or things like that. We're just kind of continuing on with our workday. But this is a big week leading into the first preseason game. Reminded the team today just how many days we have worked over the last good stretch here. And when you really look at the schedule now that the games will begin, time is a ticking, and we've got to continue to be very critical of what we're building, and I'm really happy with where our football team is at. I thought the last couple days were very competitive. Got a little chippy at times, but that's normal for this time of camp, and just quite honestly normal for the competitive nature of a lot of the guys on our team. And we've gotten a lot of really good work in, and the physicality has been something that's been noted as we've watched the tape. Did want to wish good luck to both the high school girls flag football teams from Melrose and Egan High School playing in the flag football game on the field before we come down the steps later tonight. Should be really cool. Big emphasis on growing the game for our organization, and as a father of two daughters, I love the fact that we're putting a major emphasis on it because it's very important, and I think it's going to be really, really cool to watch that continue to grow and be a real opportunity for young ladies to take the field and play this great game. So excited about that. They'll form a little tunnel for our players as we come down the stairs as we enter the stadium over there. Did want to give you guys some updates. I know we wanted to give you the day off yesterday. I didn't see anybody fighting us as far as that was concerned. We did have a very thorough, detailed walkthrough. And as far as some injury updates, Hockenson, Ryan Kelly, and Josh Metellus, they're all kind of dealing with some day-to-day normal training camp kind of bumps and bruises. No issues whatsoever there, but you're not going to see any of those three guys tonight. You'll also, Jonathan Allen and Harrison Smith planned off days that have been on the calendar for them, and that was indeed what Hargrave and Darisaw had Saturday, if there was any worry. But both those two players will come back tonight, and then Jay Ward will come back tonight, begin practicing, and work back into a full workload as we work through the week on the way into what will be an exciting day opening up US Bank Stadium on Saturday.
Hey, Kevin, is Josh still dealing with that ankle injury? And then what are the other two injuries for the other guys?
Ankle, foot, whatever. It's just a little soreness there. He's been able to really practice with almost no limitations. He's just had a little soreness, post the work, and is able to kind of work through it. But there's really, this time of year, with the type of workload he's already been able to put in early on here, we feel good about getting him a couple days here to let it settle down, and then hopefully we can just put it behind us. What was the second part of your question?
TJ and who was it? Ryan. What are the other two injuries those guys are dealing with?
Oh, yeah. TJ's kind of, I saw some really in-depth medical analysis in the moment the other day. But yeah, it's just, a hip, leg, back, whatever you want to classify it at. Once again, I'm not a doctor. I wouldn't even be able to pronounce whatever Tyler told me. And then Ryan Kelly, it's just an elbow thing, just kind of got a little stretched out the wrong way, and he'll be fine.
Was Nick Bennett related to TJ's?
No, and it was not at all. We expect TJ to participate here this week, and we'll determine his status for the game based upon our individual plan for all 91 guys on the roster. But really, since this is kind of more of a as the games approach, not having Gavin originally the plan was we'd hopefully have Gavin as part of that rotation. But we've got a pretty clean-cut plan on playing time that we could very quickly be, testing our depth at the position even at 91 players. So we wanted to bring in another player that can, good combination of a guy with experience, physicality, can block, has performed in the pass game as well in his career, had a nice workout yesterday. So we'll get Nick into the mix here.
What's the plan for JJ on Saturday, Kevin?
Yeah, we've got that plan in place. I have not talked to him about it. We're so day to day right now. So I'll update him on that plan first, and then let you guys know. But yeah, I do plan on playing JJ Saturday, which I think we've kind of talked about before.
Is that a possibility that he would play in the second or third game, or would it probably be just one game and then he won't play again?
Yeah, I think you'd love to play him, as much as possible. But I think with those 2 days of joint practice, the guys that, the type of repetition that the other guys on the offense will get from a physicality and workload standpoint, we'll more than likely use those 2 days as our real days, obviously subject to change based upon how those practices go, how we feel coming out of those. If we need to get a little more work, we will. And then we'll assess that final preseason game when it comes.
When you put JJ in there for however long you do it, does that then affect the plan for the rest of the offensive line? Do you want him to get work with that starting group if healthy enough for everybody to do it?
Yeah, I think it'll be a combination of, health of the group. It'll be a combination of, the individualized, plan for guys. We feel really good about kind of what we've talked about early on here. We'll articulate that to the players, but yeah, you want to have, I think it could look different. I don't think it's going to be one broad brush of like the Vikings did this for the preseason game, and that's not a unique thing when you've got a young quarterback. You're trying to get some work and veterans at other positions or at other sides of the ball. So once again, individualized program. I wouldn't really read too much into any particular aspect of our decision making on that, but we do want to go out and we get a U.S. Bank Stadium home game. We get our fans. We get an opportunity to open the building up the right way. We want to go compete, and it's a playoff team that I know D'Amico's going to have his guys ready to really play hard and evaluate his whole roster, which we'll be doing as well.
Kevin, what has been your eval of the quarterback room besides JJ? Obviously, 2 of the 3 are new to the system. But just what have you thought of what you see from those guys?
I think we talk a lot about JJ and where he's at in his journey. But those other 3 guys are all at different points in theirs. And when you really peel back the layers on what Sam has done from an experience standpoint, schematically, really nothing close to what we run here. And that's not taken away from anybody else's offense, just different verbiage, different variations of, how we want to try to move the football and what we ask the quarterback to do and how we coach the position. So in many ways, there's a lot of things that are just flat out new for Sam. I think he's really flashed his arm talent throughout the different phases of practice. What I'm looking for is just consistency, and as he's able to kind of log some more days and the installs slow down, which they should start doing now. We've been pretty heavy purposefully to try to get to this point in training camp and really allow our guys to play fast when we get to the games, the joint practices, practice this week, and I just want to see some consistency. And Sam's kind of been in the mode of, he's tested some throws out. He's pulled the trigger over the middle on some things that have either not worked out or have worked out. But I think we can start gauging, how am I going to play in these games? Because he's going to get a lot of reps. Brett Rippon is a guy that knows our system and has had, a little bit of a tough draw from a standpoint of a lot of reps versus the starting unit when we put him out there. And he's led that group. And I have no question that I think Brett Rippon will move the football team. And I think Max, we've been talking a lot about his mental makeup and how he's been able to absorb what we're doing and worked really hard. The physical aspect of him throwing the football, he had a great rep on a third down kind of compete period the other day where the pocket was collapsing and he sped up and was able to find, a completion, before they got home to get the sack for a huge first down. So if that can translate to the games, he'll move the team as well. And my expectation is all 3 of those guys get a ton of repetition over the next 3 games. And we want to, mix and match and see how that works out and let those guys compete.
About Ben Urasek when you were getting ready to sign a rookie free agent.
Yeah, a lot of what you've seen so far, Mark. I think, I showed the team the other day just to highlight Ben going against Dallas, who's having a really good camp on the edge. We ran a wide zone. It's the toughest block in football in many circumstances when the wide tight end in line is trying to block a pretty significant force on the edge, setting the edge. That's their job. And it was a heck of a battle. And it just kind of showed, Ben threw his hands, he threw his hat in the right location, footwork, technique, fundamentals matched with play style. and it was a true pro NFL rep by both those guys, and showed the whole team that. And it didn't end in pushing and shoving. It was really physical. It didn't end in, a lot of chirping. It was just two guys doing their job and looking like professionals, moving on to the next play. But I think you've probably seen him make, whether sometimes in just the one-on-one settings or the combo periods, catching the football, especially in the red zone. You felt his length on some plays in the back of the end zone, going up and getting it kind of off the top of the rim type of feel. So when you're talking about a guy that blocks the way he does and then has had his moments in the past game, and look, whether you go back and watch him at Stanford, where maybe he had a little bit more of a role in the past game, well, he ends up at Georgia, and last time I checked, they've had some pretty darn good tight ends. They got probably another one coming out that's going to be a first-round pick more than likely one of these days, and he was on the field contributing. And that's what really caught our eye. And we really have kind of always looked at it like between drafting Gavin and getting Ben to come here, we really felt like we had 2 draft picks. That's probably not what Ben wants to hear with the difference in signing bonuses and things like that. But that's not going to keep him from having a very clear-cut path to make our team. And can't wait. He's one of the guys I'm really looking forward to hitting the grass in these preseason games.
You've seen the attention to detail and consistency that you've wanted to out of Ty Chandler through training camp.
Yeah, I think that's what happens when you're at this point in your career. I think he's running the ball great. I think his vision, his sight lines, his discipline of his tracks has been fantastic. He's shown up in multiple ways in the past game. I think he's had one bust where he missed a strong safety pressure when I was going fast one time, and that was, as I told Ty, that's your one right there. So we're not, at this point there's grace, and there's kind of not making the same mistake twice, and then there's Ty, really emphasizing that to himself, and it might come after he rips off a 25-yard run, and I'm so excited I just go no huddle because of it. It doesn't mean the defense is just going to stand there. We got to be ready to handle our responsibilities, and Ty is more than capable, playing a huge role in the kicking game, special teams-wise for Matt Daniels and DG. And I think he's, between, that him and Zay right now, Zay Scott, that's I'm sure there's a lot of teams around the league that would love to have kind of that 3-4 battle going on like that, because it's showing up on a daily basis. Guys are making a lot of plays.
Where do you think Donovan Jackson is right now? What have you thought of where he is? Yeah,
he's probably in the locker room, maybe heading to get some food. You knew that was coming. I think Donovan's having a really good camp. I really do. Maybe one of the more consistent guys, just kind of showing up every single day up front, right there from a standpoint of, throwing a lot at him, trying to get it to slow down for him. But that's probably been, I think I've talked about this a little bit before with you guys. Like, that's probably been the coolest thing, is when he's not comfortable yet, you get a lot of, like, the natural reactions of a player. And he's, that's been a good movie to watch from a standpoint of, like, holy cow, like Jonathan Allen's got him in a pretty vulnerable spot, or Hargrave on some movement that he wasn't expecting, and just watching the way he not only plays out that down, but then applies it moving forward has been really exciting. So,
body language, or just like actually trying to block after he's
no, yeah, I mean, like, 2 things. Being able to, like, wage the battle throughout the rest of that down, where maybe, many guys it would be a pretty quick loss based upon the look. He's able to salvage a really competitive rep, and then mentally the next time anticipate it and kind of be prepared for it, and you see immediate, sometimes in practice, immediate growth. I know we're talking a lot about, JJ and Dallas, and rightly so. Both those guys are having really good camps, in my opinion, doing everything we want them to do. But I think Donovan is right up there for me right now. I don't want to put a lot of pressure on him, but he's in a competition and he's playing really good football. So can't wait to see him play a little bit. No, you're good.
Have you seen enough from Jonathan Allen and Hargrave to know how they're going to impact your defense this year?
Yes.
What do you see when you watch the tape and go back there?
I see a lot of them. From the end zone copy showing a lot of them showing up in a hurry on my big screen. I might ask them to hang a smaller TV in my office so they don't look as daunting when they win on a pass rush. But no, it's all jokes aside. I think Hargrave's having, he's maybe been as impactful as any defensive player all camp, and that's saying something, because Grenard, Van Ginkel, J.A. on the other side, But the way Hargrave has really attacked this and his fit early on here and what we're doing, both what we're doing to allow him to play the way we need to allow him to play, but also his fit in Flo's kind of mastery of what he wants to do from a movement, stunt, pressure standpoint. And then Jonathan's been as advertised, power, unique repertoire of kind of different speed to power, quickness moves, that when he gets the one-on-one, it's just a hard down. We can only send the center one way. I told Ryan Kelly the other day, if we could have two of you in there at the same time, that would be a win for us, but I think we'd get caught because you send the center one way, the other guard's going to be in a one-on-one, and every rep they get against those guys is preparing them for the top flight interior players in this league, in my opinion, and those guys have been phenomenal. So I know I was joking around, but the answer is yes, and we felt it, and it's been well documented about the defense's strong start to camp, and that coincided with Javon and Jonathan tying their shoes to go out to the first practice.
On the Scuffles on Saturday now,
Yeah.
what was your thought when Jones takes that second big hit and
Yeah.
the first guy to go after
Yeah.
Beatty is JJ?
Yeah.
What's your thought?
Yeah, I mean, we'd probably really have a real scuffle if JJ goes in there and takes one on the chops. We'd probably have something to really worry about. But at the same time, he went out there just like a lot of our team did. It was, listen, the guys are going to react. I'd be lying to you if I didn't say part of me enjoyed seeing our team, push to that level. And as I talk to him every day about pushing to that line and figuring out a way to understand we're iron sharpening iron, and we're not going to do that kind of being tentative or being worried about pushing to that line. Now, practicing a certain kind of way, didn't necessarily think the second one, look, if you want to let a guy fly through the, as a 5 technique, fly through the B gap untouched, that's a me problem. That's not a baddie problem, which I told him after practice. You'd love to see him hold up or pull up a little bit and not make that kind of hit. The other one was a little bit more like you guys see every day in practice. These guys are punching at the ball every chance. Our guys we're in thud tempo. So a lot of times when it's something like that happens, it requires me to just eliminate any confusion on the expectation. But I just wanted to, it was such an important practice. That was the only reason why I called the team up, just to make sure everybody knew my expectation. And if we weren't going to finish practicing the way that we needed to that day, we could kick the can down the road a little bit, but we were certainly going to get on the line and do something if it continued. And that got us right back on the other side of the line we're talking about.
Last one.
I'm just wondering, with his ability as a runner, what are you telling him in terms of when to hang in the pocket, maybe make a subtle movement, or maybe even take a hit, versus when is the time to maybe use his legs and try to pick up yards that way?
Yeah, I think he's already shown pretty in the two-hand touch environment that the quarterback's playing in this space. He's already shown when he does get out, he can flat out go. So stealing a first down or two is not going to be an issue for JJ. It's going to be exhausting the progressions, and when he does have the pocket allows, we want him to put the ball in play and distribute the ball and stack completions and all those things. Now, a couple, when I think the other day even I set it up kind of a 4th and 5 drill. Guys didn't know what was happening. It had been back and forth. Offense had a really good day. Defense made some plays. Flo decides to drop 8 in that moment, and JJ runs outside the back of the pocket, and Grenard easily kind of ran him down, and that ended that play. So I thought it was a great learning example. Not all pockets. There's conviction you have to have and an understanding about there's 8 guys in coverage. That means there's only 3 rushing, unless maybe you're at Buffalo back in 2022 and they let them play with 12 on the goal line. But there normally should be 11 guys, so there's 3 guys rushing. Where's the lane to get up and out or up and attack the defense versus a 4-man rush with 2 really hard edges and 2 pocket pushers? That might require you to sit firm in there and then try to find a way to get the ball thrown away. But it was 4th down, so he was trying to extend the play like he should. Great learning lesson, and he immediately, right afterwards, told me, I said, what were you thinking there? And he said, not the right thing. I should have been up and out right there. And then, maybe he attacks with the ball up and runs it in, and people are jumping out of the stands. They're so excited, but ran out the back of the pocket, and it was the alternative. But that's a great question. It's a great example of kind of what we're kind of working through this camp, the layers to it, and how he's I'm fired up about him and I, the dynamic we have, and how we're kind of both growing together on a daily basis, looking towards what this finished product of training camp looks like as we attack the season together.